Alright guys, welcome to the Backyard MX Season 2 announcement video. This video will be educational in that it will explain the changes that we're making to Season 2 and why we are making those changes. And it will also come out with some information about the start date. So I just spent 20 minutes making this video with music in the background. The sound was way too loud, it overpowered my voice, and it was about 20 minutes long. So I'm re-recording this. I'm hoping to make it a little bit shorter so it's a little bit easier to retain that information. So without further ado, let's get it started. The number one thing I want to go into before I talk about the changes that we're making to Season 2 for Backyard is kind of what led to those changes. And the first question that I have to ask is what makes Backyard MX unique? Well, number one, it provides competitive race experience, meaning the same kind of it's more than just an online race in an online MXB lobby. I think everybody can understand that. It is a competitive race experience. But most importantly, everybody gets a spot on the gate. So the second question to ask before we jump into the changes are what could make it better? So this is where we talk about player feedback that you guys, riders in the event and in the series, provided to us. So that was switching to a two-moto format instead of one-moto format, providing some sort of qualifying to better ensure class fairness and that classes were more tightly grouped by skill, enforcing a strict sign-up rule so that players weren't jumping in at last minute and disrupting races, starting earlier so that our East Coast riders wouldn't have to be up so late, eliminate sandbagging, which kind of ties into the qualifying point, and then reducing the number of class swaps. So that's really from an admin perspective. How do I prevent the number of people jumping back and forth between A, B, or C class, and kind of disrupting the flow of scoring somebody throughout an entire series in points in a single class. So, how will Season 2 incorporate this player feedback? Let's find out. So this is really the main tab that's going to take me the longest to explain. So this is where the primary focus needs to be if you are watching this video to find out how Backyard MX Season 2 works. The information that I'm going to share is only relevant if you truly wish to know how the season is going to operate. The most important thing for you as a rider to know is that we will handle all of the aspect of scoring the points and setting up the classes on the back end. The riders just have to know one very critical piece of information. That is, Saturday through Monday, this upcoming Saturday, February 13th, okay, Sunday the 14th, and Monday the 15th, one of those 3 days, not all three, just one, riders will be required to participate in our preseason qualifying practice. Again, we will do this for 3 days straight to give plenty of time for riders to participate. Here's information about preseason qualifying practice. Each day will have a minimum of a 4-hour long practice server up. We might go longer than that, but at minimum it'll be 4 hours each day. And we will have 3 servers up each day to make sure that we have plenty of space for riders to participate. Qualifying times transfer to preseason races, so I'll get into preseason races in just a minute, but the purpose of preseason qualifying practice is because this will allow us to begin sorting riders into their classes by skill. So, for example, if you're busy on Saturday and you work during the time that we'll be doing qualifying practice, you'll have a chance to do it on Sunday. If heaven forbid somebody is out of town Saturday through Monday and they're not able to participate in hardly any of it, or they're just busy on those 3 days, if you can at least make it into the server and put a lap time in that we can get exported into our spreadsheet at the end of the weekend, then that will at least help you get into some sort of qualifying time. But some sort of participation is going to be required. It's not going to be required to compete in Backyard MX all season. It'll just be required if you want to get into the A, B, or C class. So more on that in a minute. Come Tuesday, we will begin our preseason races. So starting with race number 1. This will be the experience that most of you will know from Backyard MX Season 1, where we will have an A, B, and C class race. The riders won't be put into those races and those classes based on anything other than their qualifying practice time in the weekend prior, during this Saturday to Monday here. So there will be 3 classes, A, B, and C, 1 moto per class, and the top 8 riders in each race will move on and will not be allowed to nor required to race on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. So the track that we race on Tuesday is to be determined. The track that we race on for qualifying will be the same on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to make sure it's fair for everybody who attempts to qualify. But it will be a different track for race number 1. The same thing will be done for race number 2, and then the same thing will be done for race number 3. So what this results in is at the end of these 3 preseason races, you have 8 people from A, B, and C class, so that's 24 riders basically, who move on and qualify for their class. So at the end of race number 2, the next top 8 from each class move on, and at the end of race number 3, the next top 8 from each class move on, and the result at the end of the week of preseason is you have 24 riders who are qualified for A, B, and C class, and each of them are locked in, guaranteed spot on the gate for their class. No worry that somebody else is going to jump in mid-season and sandbag unintentionally, or no worry that they're going to, not sign up in time and not have a spot on the gate. If they made it through preseason, they're locked in. So what about the riders who don't make it through preseason and are not in the top 8, or who don't have a chance to participate in qualifying practice and aren't able to make it to the qualifying races? That's where we have our open class. So this will be the class that is intended for riders to just show up when they want to show up. There's no commitment. They can still get that Backyard MX race experience that we handed out in series number 1 with individual race signups. But it will not be a points series class. We will still score you. We will still track your progression. I can still let people know how many, quote unquote points they have, but this will not be a championship series because people will be in and out of this class all season long. And there will be an opportunity for people from open class to move up into A, B, or C class. So we don't want to give them points throughout open class and give them a reason to stay in open class if we're offering them a chance to move up. So the only series that we will have that will have a running points championship will be A, B, and C. Open class will strictly just be for competitive race experience, with the incentive that if you participate, you do have an opportunity to move up into A, B, or C as the season goes on. More information about that next. So open class is eligible for individual race signups. You're not locked in, but you do have to sign up for each race if you want to participate. So that kind of puts the freedom on you as an open class rider to say, I don't like this track, I don't want to race it. And then, next week say I do like this track and I can race it, so I'm going to sign up. It will be the traditional Backyard MX experience in that way, in that you just sign up when you want to race and you don't when you don't. Riders will have a chance to promote to A, B, or C, as I said before, and open class will still be streamed and commentated. So it's not like open class is just the forgotten child. So this is how our preseason structure is going to work, and it is a requirement if you want to be an A, B, or C class rider. So some frequently asked questions about the open class that I anticipate receiving are, what if I miss preseason qualifying? Like, what happens to me as a rider if I can't make it to preseason qualifying? So as I mentioned, open class can be joined at any time during the season. Just because you don't qualify for A, B, or C doesn't mean that you can't participate in Backyard Season 2. Again, the big thing that we live on is everybody gets a spot on the gate. So the second thing to mention here is that open class riders still have an opportunity to move to C, B, or A class. I've touched on that. So a question I anticipate receiving, because we've got it a lot, is why not just hold qualifying practice or qualifying races like PDMX or Let's Ride? Why do this whole preseason qualifying stuff? Why not just start the day off with a qualifying practice and whoever's fastest gets in? The simple answer to that is that Backyard MX is a unique series, and our process has to be unique as well. If we try to base the qualification of each class on lap times, then that creates challenges with points scoring. So the best example I can give to you for that is to say, let's imagine that race number 1, week number 1, is on Unadilla, and I personally attempt to qualify, and I'm forced to qualify for each individual race. Let's say my lap time gets me put into a B class classification. That's great. I earn points in B class that week. But next week we go to Redbud, which I'm better at than Unadilla, and I qualify for A class. And then the third week we go to Lommel, which is a harder track than either of those, and I qualify for C class. How am I supposed to categorize and simplify a points scoring championship if I'm jumping all over the place between A, B, and C class? So the only way to have a championship point structure that is fair is to do lap time qualification and sort people into classes based on their lap times, but not for individual races. It has to be something where every rider is locked into their class early and they ride that class throughout the entire season. So that's why we're doing the preseason qualifying time instead of individual races. And then, as I mentioned before, how will open class riders promote to C, B, or A? Well, it'll still be scored, meaning we're still going to keep track of the points that you would have earned if it was a point series class, but there's not going to be a championship to win at the end of open class. And so, since it's not a points class, or because it's not a points class, we're not going to score it like a championship, but we are still going to track it. So if an A class rider doesn't show up to their A class race in a single week, then we will look at the open class scoring, the kind of behind the curtain, and look at who in the open class has been showing up and winning races and would be best suited to move up into the A class as a backfill for somebody in the A class who wasn't able to make it. And that's how we will provide open class riders with the opportunity to race in higher classes. We're going to make a rule book that basically says if you are a rider who is locked into an A, B, or C class and you miss 2 weeks in a row or 3 weeks total, you're relegated to open class to give open class riders a chance to move up. So if you end up being an open class rider in series number 2, don't feel discouraged, don't feel demotivated, because every week there's going to be no-shows in the A, B, or C class, and every week there's going to be an opportunity to move up, and our most dedicated open class riders will eventually be given permanent spots in the A, B, or C class. So let's talk about the schedule real quick. We're still going to hold it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The intention here is that we do not conflict with any other series known to be occurring during the duration of Backyard MX Season 2. Let's Ride and PDMX will race on Mondays. We will have Tuesdays. Let's Ride will come back again on Wednesdays. We will have Thursdays. PDMX and Aerial Supercross will race on Fridays, and CC Supercross will race on Saturdays. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are only Backyard MX days as far as I'm aware. Instead of doing all the classes on a single night, since we're doing a 2-moto format, we will split it up. Open class and C class will race on Tuesday nights. Races will begin at 5:30 p.m. Pacific to allow for 30 minutes extra time since there's another moto being tacked on at the end. And the Open and C class will have 2 15-minute motos per class. On Thursdays, A class and B class will race, and they will have 2 20-minute motos per class with a 10-minute break in between. So lastly, what are the key takeaways here? What do you need to know in terms of why we've made these changes and how they're intended to improve on your series and your experience in Backyard MX Season 2? Number 1, they help ensure class fairness by introducing some sort of qualifying. Number 2, they help prevent unintentional sandbagging by locking classes. Number 3, they maintain Backyard MX's roots by providing a chance for all riders to race. That's what the open class is for. Number 4, improve on series point scoring by reducing the number of class swaps, reducing the number of times somebody goes from C to B and then goes and says, I wasn't as good in B as I thought, so I need to move back down to C. No more class swapping. Number 5, improve the rider experience by limiting it to 24 riders per race. I think that was one of the most critical mistakes we made in Backyard MX, was believing in the 30, 40 rider gates on these tracks. Yes, you can make it happen, but it's just not an enjoyable experience currently. And I think every other series that races competitively in this game locks their classes to 22 to 24 riders, and I've learned why. So we're going to follow that format. And we're going to continue to do it until we have more riders signed up than we have spots on the gate between ABC and Open. And lastly, the improvement is to race start and finish times by hosting races on different nights and not trying to cram everything into one night and running all night long. So for our caveats, maintaining Backyard MX's roots by providing a chance for all riders to race. The open class attendance, right? Whoever joins open class on any given night is still required to sign up for that race, and it is first come, first serve until we meet that 24 rider cap. And it is limited to 24 riders to maintain race quality. If we have a full A, B, C, and open class lobby in a single week, then that means we had 96 riders signed up to race. We've never had more than 80 or so signed up between A, B, and C class alone. So I don't think we're at that point yet where we have 100 people a week basically who are wanting to race. but we might. And if we do, then we will cross that bridge when we come to it. It might start with expanding the open class gate selection from 24 to 30 to fit a couple more people in, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel for the additional riders. But it will probably eventually lead to an additional D class. So once we start getting into more and more riders and more people who want to race, we'll probably see the addition of a D class, which would result in A, B, C, D, and open. So this is it, guys. This video, please share this video with anybody you know that is intending to race Backyard MX Season 2. Please let them know that if they want to be an A, B, or C class, they are required to participate in the preseason qualifying, which takes place on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of this upcoming week. And then they are required to participate in the races, which will occur on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. And again, top 8 from each race move on in each race. So if you are in the top 8 on race number 1, you don't have to race again on Wednesday or Thursday. So if somebody is just they've put in the qualifying practice time, they weren't top 8 in race 1, they weren't top 8 in race 2, and they do get top 8 in race 3, like that's the most amount of time that you're going to have to race for preseason. But it's going to be a long event, basically 6 days. It's going to be hype. I'm super stoked. So I hope this video was informational. Thank you guys again. And I will end this video with what I'm trying to coin as the Backyard MX catchphrase, and that is, we can't do it without you, so that's why we do it for you. Thank you.